Never has a show gone from "I can't stop watching" to "Wait,
I'm getting you out of here. It's impossible. Not if you design the place it isn't.
what is even happening?" as fast as Prison Break. And the wildest part? The exact moment everything started crumbling wasn't when most people think.
Let's go.
Prison Break didn't just grab people's attention. It took over living rooms. But the same show that once felt razor sharp slowly collapsed under its own weight. Today we're breaking down how a series that started with genius writing and heart-pounding tension spiraled into confusion, stretched storylines, and unbelievable twists that pushed fans away.
Michael, you don't understand.
Call Gretchen. Get her in here.
And one decision in particular quietly doomed the entire thing. When Prison Break premiered in 2005, it hit TV like a shockwave. At the time, most networks were still chasing sitcoms and procedural shows where every episode wrapped up neatly. Then along came this dark, gritty, serialized thriller about a man tattooing an entire prison blueprint onto his body just to break his brother out of death row. It felt bold, it felt original, and it felt like something TV hadn't dared to do in years. Fox didn't expect it to explode the way it did, but audiences were hooked from episode 1. People loved that it didn't treat them like they were dumb. It trusted them to follow clues, spot details, and stay on the edge of their seat. The cast was perfect too. Michael's calm genius, Lincoln's raw emotion, Sarah's quiet strength, Suker's loyalty, Teabag's terrifying charm. Every character felt unforgettable. It was the kind of show people recommended to friends with a simple line: "You have to see this." The magic of Prison Break was that its premise was simple enough for anyone to understand, but big enough to create non-stop tension. One clear goal: escape the prison. That's it. No confusing world building, no giant villain organization yet, no supernatural elements. Just a man racing against the clock to save his brother before the state killed him. The prison setting acted like a pressure cooker. Tight hallways, constant surveillance, guards always on edge, and inmates ready to flip at any second. Every choice mattered because one mistake could ruin the entire plan. It was a show that felt real. You didn't need to stretch your imagination, you just needed to breathe and hope Michael made it out alive. Season 1 is still talked about today because it did almost everything right. The story moved like a machine. Every episode pushed the plot forward, every character had a purpose, and every setback felt earned. Michael's tattoos weren't just a cool visual, they were clues, secrets, and lifelines hidden in plain sight. One of the smartest things the show did was make the prison itself feel like a character. The cramped cells, the yard politics, the corrupt guards, it all created this environment where danger was constant. Even the smallest decision, like trusting the wrong inmate or walking into the wrong room, could shift the entire story. But the real heart of Season 1 was emotional. Michael wasn't breaking out for money or glory. He was breaking out because his brother was about to die for a crime he didn't commit. That family bond grounded everything. Viewers weren't just watching an escape plan unfold. They were watching a man sacrifice his life piece by piece for someone he loved. Season 1 didn't feel like television. It felt like watching a movie every week. Season 2 wasn't bad. In fact, a lot of fans still love it. But this is where the first cracks quietly appeared. The show shifted from a tense, contained prison escape to a nationwide chase. And while that opened the story up, it also took away the thing that made Season 1 so addictive: the tight, claustrophobic pressure. Suddenly, the characters were scattered across cities, running from the FBI, dodging bounty hunters, and trying to survive on the outside. The tone changed. It became less about clever puzzles and more about constant near captures. Every episode used the same formula. The team gets close to safety, then something goes wrong. Then they run again. And that's where fatigue kicked in. When every episode repeats the same rhythm, the tension stops feeling sharp. Then came The Company, a shadowy organization controlling everything from behind the scenes. At first, it seemed mysterious, but as the writers leaned more into conspiracy plots, the show started drifting away from the grounded realism that fans loved. Season 2 was still exciting, but for the first time, viewers felt the story stretching thin. Season 3 dropped Michael into Sona, a Panamanian prison so brutal it made Fox River look like a summer camp. On paper, this sounded like a return to form. Another prison, another escape, familiar stakes. But the problem wasn't the setting. It was why the show was repeating itself. Behind the scenes, the writer's strike hit hard. Episodes were rushed, storylines were trimmed, and the season ran way shorter than planned. With limited time and pressure to recreate what made Season 1 work, the writers fell back into old patterns. The issue? Audiences had already seen the escape from prison formula. The magic wasn't the same anymore. Instead of feeling like a fresh challenge, it felt like déjà vu. Characters were added and dropped quickly, motivations felt thin, and because the show couldn't pause to develop anything deeply, many plots came and went without impact. Season 3 wasn't terrible, but it was clear the show was losing the spark that once made it feel unstoppable. Before we move on, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe and smash that like button. Thank you. Let's get back to it. Season 4 is where even the most loyal fans started saying, okay, what is happening anymore? Gone was the grounded, realistic world of prison walls and tight escape plans. Instead, the show turned into a full-blown action heist thriller. Some sort of the characters were now working with and against government agencies, secret agents, underground scientists, and a mysterious device called Scylla that felt like something stolen from a sci-fi movie. The tone didn't just shift, it flipped upside down. The show that once made viewers sweat over whether Michael could slip past a single guard was now throwing car chases, explosions, double crosses, and triple crosses into almost every episode. And then came the moment that broke a lot of trust with fans. Characters dying, then returning. Then dying again. Then somehow still returning. When you tell viewers a character is dead, only to bring them back with a vague explanation, the emotional weight disappears. Season 4 tried to go bigger, louder, and crazier. But in the process, it drifted far away from the intimate story that made viewers fall in love in the first place. When Season 5 was announced, fans lost their minds. After years of rumors, Prison Break was finally coming back. People were ready to forgive the messy final seasons if the show could just recapture a little of that Season 1 magic. But once it aired, the excitement faded fast. The revival felt rushed, like a highlight reel instead of a fleshed-out story. The pacing was uneven, the twists were bigger but not smarter, and the emotional moments didn't land the same way. Michael was alive, but the explanation behind it felt thin. The stakes were high, but not believable. Instead of returning the show to greatness, the revival reminded fans of why the series struggled in the first place. At its heart, Prison Break had one massive issue. The story wasn't built to last. Season 1 worked because the goal was razor clear: break out of prison. But once that goal was completed, the writers had to keep creating new prisons, new conspiracies, new reasons for Michael to use his genius again. And every time they repeated the formula, it lost a little more impact. The show kept growing outward instead of deeper. Instead of exploring characters, emotions, or consequences, it kept trying to top itself with bigger twists. The premise that made the show powerful eventually became the cage that trapped it. One thing people forget is that TV networks almost never let a hit show end early. If something brings in ratings, advertisers, and attention, executives want more seasons, even if the story is already finished. Prison Break was a victim of that system. Instead of letting the show wrap up naturally after Season 1 or 2, Fox pushed for more episodes, more plot lines, and more ways to keep the brand alive. The writers weren't just telling a story. They were trying to keep a business running. The real downfall of Prison Break wasn't one bad season. It was a slow shift in identity. The show stopped being a grounded thriller and turned into something completely different. By constantly trying to outdo the previous season, the writers pushed the story into unbelievable territory. Michael's plans went from clever and realistic to borderline magic tricks. Characters who once felt human were suddenly surviving explosions, kidnappings, conspiracies, and things that should have killed them 10 times over. And the twists? They became predictable, not because viewers could guess them, but because fans expected the show to throw in a wild curveball anytime the plot got stuck. Instead of building tension naturally, the series relied on shock value. Once a show loses trust, once viewers stop believing the world has rules, the emotional weight disappears. By the later seasons, Prison Break was no longer a tight, character-driven story. It was a roller coaster that wouldn't stop, even after the thrill was gone. A big part of the show's downfall came from chaos behind the curtain. The writer's strike in 2007 hit Prison Break harder than most people realize. Entire story arcs had to be rewritten or scrapped, Season lengths were cut. Character development was squeezed into fewer episodes, leaving plot lines feeling rushed or incomplete. On top of that, cast availability changed. Some actors left, others returned unexpectedly, and the writers had to constantly adjust to keep the story moving. Then there was network pressure. Fox didn't just want more seasons, they wanted bigger ones, with higher stakes and crazier twists. All of these moving parts made it harder to tell a clean, consistent story. The show wasn't just evolving, it was scrambling. The shift in audience reaction tells the whole story. Season 1 was almost universally praised. People were obsessed. Season 2 kept most fans on board but raised eyebrows. By Season 3, viewers were divided. Some still loved the intensity, while others felt the story repeating itself. Season 4 pushed many fans over the edge. The tone changes, the conspiracies, the wild twists. It all felt too far from what made the show special. When the revival arrived, fans were excited, but cautious. And once it aired, most people agreed. The magic just wasn't there anymore. If there's one moment people point to as the "this is where it broke" turning point, it's when the show leaned fully into the company conspiracy. Up until then, Prison Break felt grounded, clever, and believable. But once a massive, world-controlling organization entered the picture, with no clear rules, no real limits, and endless secret agents, the show lost its grip on reality. And then came the twist that pushed fans over the edge: Sarah's death, followed by her sudden return. When a show tells viewers, "this character is gone forever," then rewinds it without a solid explanation, trust disappears. From that point on, every twist felt like it could be undone. The emotional stakes evaporated. Even with its messy later seasons, Prison Break still holds a special place in TV history. Season 1 set a new standard for tension, character chemistry, and cliffhangers that made people sprint to their TVs every week. It showed how powerful a simple, emotional premise can be. And its downfall teaches something important. Even the best ideas have limits. Knowing when to stop is sometimes what saves a story, not what ends it. For more deep dives like this, subscribe, smash that like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time.